What is up, my Squirtleites? It is I, your king, welcoming you back to Destiny 2. In this video, we're going to be going over Forsaken, or at least the reveal of Forsaken, everything that it entails, and what is coming to the game of Destiny, what is going to be changing and whatnot, and what I personally think about every single one of these changes, every one of these announcements and whatnot. So this is an incredibly cold take of the situation, because the reveal for all of this was on the 7th of June, and it is now July. And yes, I'm very late to the party on this, but I wasn't even sure if I wanted to make a video on this in the first place, but things have changed, events have transpired, and a brand new Let's Play is starting tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to be jumping back into the world of Destiny because of said changes. So, let's have a discussion about Forsaken. So first of all, what is Forsaken? Well, for those who don't remember Destiny 1 very well, about at the same time that we are at in Destiny 2's timeline, Destiny 1 was also struggling in terms of public perception. It was a very different case in terms of hardcore player base perception, because the hardcore player base was actually kind of happy with the way that the game was at the moment. A lot of us dedicated players kind of enjoyed the game at this point, because House of Wolves turned out to be a pretty good DLC, and things were just looking up from here. However, the public perception of Destiny was still in a very bad place. About where it is with Destiny 2 right now, if I'm being honest. I know a lot of people look at Destiny with very rose-tinted glasses and don't really remember everything, remember all of the criticism and hatred that was sent flying towards Destiny 1, because it did end up becoming such a good game in the long run. But Destiny 1 was critically panned back in the day, and well, Destiny 2 is experiencing the very same thing, although it has also alienated its hardcore audience, which is why it looks like it's in so much of a worse state. Then the Taken King happened with Destiny 1, and public perception of the game went way up. That is exactly what Forsaken is trying to do. It is trying to change the game for the better in every single way. It is trying to present us with a much better narrative. It is going darker, and it is making some much needed changes to the game. Although, again, while Destiny 1 with the Taken King was just improving on already existing mechanics that were introduced in House of Wolves, Destiny 2 is basically just taking us back to what was good in Destiny 1. So, let's go over Forsaken. What is coming in Forsaken? There was a big Bungie Vidoc. If you haven't seen that, I'm going to give you the list, as is explained here in the Bungie Weekly Update from June 7th. Forsaken tells a new story with a darker tone and a lawless frontier. If you did not see the story trailer reveal that came during E3, Cayde 6 dies. Prince Uldren from Destiny 1 is the one who kills him. Why? Well, of course, all that remains to be seen. But Cayde 6 dying is a pretty heavy blow. Cayde 6 is by and far the most developed and the most beloved character in the Destiny universe up to this point. Clearly, High Moon Studios, and partially Bungie, but mostly High Moon Studios, is trying to deliver a very heavy punch to the gut to the player base in hopes that for once we can finally take this story seriously. I mean, we kind of didn't Taken King, but that's beside the point. Tangled Shore is a new destination made up of a web of asteroids and mysteries. This is going to be our new playable space in Forsaken. The Dreaming City is our first endgame destination, home to the biggest challenges. Again, an explorable space that is also going to include the raid that is going to be in Forsaken. A brand new raid, not raid lairs added on to Leviathan, a whole new raid. The Scorn, or a new enemy led by a group of 8 barons you will hunt down. A little bit complicated, but a lot of people are calling them a reskin of the Fallen, while the developers are calling them an entirely new enemy class that is somewhat based off of the Fallen. I'm going to assume that it's going to probably be somewhere in the middle. How much is borrowed from the Fallen or straight ripped off, such as animations and things like that, as well as mechanics, remains to be seen, but they are at least somewhat different from the Fallen that we are used to. They are supposed to be undead Fallen, and as a result, possibly have dabbled in either Hive magic or Vex technology, or possibly even Taken energy. Our new weapon system gives you more control over how you configure your fighting style. This allows you to play the game you want to play, basically. Whether you want to play with the current weapon system where you have kinetic energy and power weapons, or you want to revert back to Destiny 1 system where you had primary, special, and heavy weapons. There are also other ways of customizing your playstyle, such as even running with 3 shotguns should you want to. It might not be the most practical way of playing. It might make you run out of ammo very quickly, but this is about player choice and giving players options, and I am all for it. We are adding random rolls back to the game and improving the mod system for better weapon customization. Good! Random rolls never should have left the game in the first place. Fixed rolls were a completely terrible idea that were poorly implemented and had absolutely zero upside to them over the old random roll system. Even if random rolls are going to be poorly implemented from the start, it's still better than what we have right now. New Masterwork style system allows you to level up weapons over time. The Masterwork system was already the best thing that the weapon system has had in the entire life cycle of Destiny 2 thus far, particularly with exotics. I can't wait to see how they expand upon that, because I mean, it was good as it was, and hopefully it just goes up from there. With random rolls and mods on top of that, I would assume that this is going to make for a much deeper weapon system than we've ever seen before. And again, any improvement is an improvement. Your Guardian discovers new way to fight with new supers. Every single subclass in the game is going to be given a third perk tree, which is going to allow for a new super type. This includes things such as throwing 1,000 fire flaming knives at enemies with a gunslinger super instead of using your golden gun. This also includes teleporting around the place and then exploding with void energy as a warlock instead of throwing a nova bomb, or getting one giant flaming hammer that sends a shockwave straight in front of you that just blows up everything in your path with fire with the Sunbreaker subclass. Things like that. Every single subclass is getting a new super, or at least a variant of their current super. Good. I don't think expecting a new subclass type was a very reasonable expectation, especially with all the problems that are in the current Destiny universe. Trying to rebalance and, change the game around a 4th subclass type was probably not the most reasonable expectation to have, I think. We can save that for later down the line. I think adding new supers is plenty. The bow joins your arsenal as a new weapon type. This is supposed to be a weapon that is entirely centered around in-air accuracy. It is a projectile weapon. Think of it much like the linear fusion rifles. However, it is going to behave like a bow. It's a bow. It's a compound bow. You're going to be firing arrows, and they're going to do damage at medium to long ranges. And again, the whole entire focus of this weapon type is for mid-air accuracy, something that most weapon types severely lack currently in the game. Gambit is a new activity that combines PvE and PvP in a competitive co-op experience. I have heard nothing but good things about this mode thus far. It is a very interesting mode type. What it is it places 2 teams of 4 on separate sides of the map. They cannot interact with each other for the most part. Their goal is to try to get more points than one another by killing PvE or AI enemies. However, you can use your points that you accrue to stall, or in other ways intrude upon or impede the other team, thus giving your team an advantage. This includes sending a really powerful enemy over to distract them or get in their way from scoring. This also includes being able to send one of your teammates over and use them to wreak havoc on the other team for a brief period of time. Things like that. Very cool idea for a game mode. I'm not really sure I've ever seen anything like it, so I can't wait to see how that plays out. And with PvP being in the current state that it is, and with the current state that it seems to be going, I can imagine this is going to be the only PvP-related experience that I ever have, as long as Destiny 2 exists in its current form. There is a brand new raid located in the Dreaming City, as I said before. There was a new collections feature, quote-unquote new, more like a feature that was in Destiny 1 and is being added back into Destiny 2, albeit with a little bit more depth. This allows you to track all the items you acquire. This includes weapons and armor, should you want to reacquire. Now, obviously, the way that they're going to balance this, in Destiny 1, you were able to reacquire ships or player icons or shaders or sparrows that you had discarded in the past, as well as exotics. However, the way that they're going to balance this with weapons and armors is obviously they're going to have them set to a very low power level, and you're going to be able to acquire them and then infuse them from there, meaning you'll never permanently lose anything when you delete it. Good thing that should be added back into the game. Happy to see it. There is a new Triumphs feature that lets you track your achievements and lore. They are bringing back record books. good. They never should have left in the first place. In Destiny 1, there was this brilliant idea of adding these things called record books, which attract your achievements all throughout the game in all facets and allowed you to accrue tiered rewards as you completed these activities. These rewards would get better and better. Sometimes they would be unique sparrows or ships or ghost shells or other vanity items. Other times they would include a very unique weapon or things like that. There were a few different record books that were introduced all throughout Destiny's life cycle, and having them in Destiny 2 is nothing but a good thing. So now, with all of that in mind in regards to Forsaken, I want to address this very odd complaint that I've seen circulating around, even since there was confusion, obviously, when the launch or the reveal happened, but I still see this complaint everywhere, and I have to say, it has got to be one of the most baseless and kind of entitled complaints I've seen in a very long time in regards to Forsaken. And far be it from me to defend Bungie, because I'm had it up to here with their crap as well as Activision. However, the thing is, in terms of us as a community and us as players, is the last thing we need to do is to give them the ammo to fire back by looking entitled. And a very entitled thing to say is the following: either one, we're paying Bungie for them to fix their game. Okay? However, that's not as bad as saying this expansion should be free. Don't say those things. First of all, you are not paying Bungie to fix their game. Not in the slightest. Because, let me now go over Update 2.0 that is going to be coming with the Forsaken update. Update 2.0, which is available to all players, regardless of whether or not they own the Forsaken expansion, includes the following: gear collections, in-game triumphs, weapon slot changes, weapon randomization, mod system update, bulk shader deletion, new Crucible mode, 4 new Crucible maps, look at that, new free content, 200 additional vault slots, bringing the total up to 500 slots, in-game lore, and new bounties. All of that is coming in the Update 2.0, and it is completely free. So no, you are not paying Bungie to fix their game. They are going to fix their game regardless, or at least make steps towards fixing their game. Who says it's actually going to be implemented properly? That said, saying that Forsaken should still be free for all the crap we put up with is still really stupid. First of all, High Moon Studios is the team behind Forsaken more so than Bungie is this time around. Obviously, Bungie has their input, their creative input and whatnot. They still have the art directors. They still have the writers and things like that are going to be a part of this. But High Moon Studios is the studio mostly behind Forsaken. This is a brand new development team. They have... obviously, I don't think it's really fair to already give them crap when they really haven't done anything to ruin this game, or they haven't really made any bad decisions or any good decisions. They haven't done anything in regards to Destiny yet that we as players have seen. So I think it's fair to say we should give them the benefit of the doubt. Bungie and Activision, not so much. On top of that, these are people that are working on this game, people. They need money. They need to feed their families. They need to be able to feed themselves. They need to be able to live. I don't care what you say in regards to, microtransactions and stuff like that. First of all, I'm pretty sure it's obvious that the microtransaction money ain't going to High Moon. It might not even be going to Bungie. It's probably going straight to Activision. You know what? That's how it usually works in games. Extra money that is accrued through microtransactions or deluxe editions is usually never given to developers. Developers tend to typically have a very set pay grade that they are paid, and all additional money goes straight into the pockets of the CEOs, all of the publishers and whatnot. So, to say that High Moon Studios does not deserve to get paid for their hard work, that is coming off as entitled. Please don't do that. So, with that said, if you don't want to buy Forsaken, or you don't trust High Moon Studios and you don't trust Bungie, don't pre-order it. Very simple. Don't give them your $40 right off the bat. Wait for the reviews, wait for the game to come out, wait to hear about the game first, or the expansion first, and then if it's good, buy it. Simple as that. It's $40. That's the exact same cost that the Taken King was. However, now we move into the stuff that's a little bit more muddy and murky. Let's talk about the purchasing options for Forsaken. There is a standard edition, which is just $40. There is the Forsaken Plus Annual Pass, we're going to get into that in a minute, for $70. And then there is the Digital Deluxe Edition, which comes with Forsaken, the Annual Pass, a Ghost Shell, a new player icon, and then like a bow or something like that. That is $80. Okay, first of all, well, as I said before, don't pre-order any of this crap. Don't do that. Second of all, if you're going to get anything, just get Forsaken. Let's talk about the annual pass for a minute, because I love this idea in theory, but I also hate the way that it's being implemented. Why do I love this idea in theory? Well, for those who don't remember, again, rose-tinted glasses in terms of how Destiny 1 was, as good as the Taken King was, and as mostly good as Rise of Iron was, do people remember what happened between those expansion releases? Anything? Probably not, because they literally got one update each in between those. There was the April update between Taken King and Rise of Iron, and then there was the Age of Triumph update between Rise of Iron and Destiny 2. Granted, yes, they were free, but it was one update, and they were minuscule. The April update came with a single strike, a couple of revamped strikes, a single story mission, and some weapons were brought back from year one. Age of Triumphs came with a little bit more, as well as its own record book and things like that, but not a whole lot more. This was the only content update that we got, period. Now you might say, well, what about the seasonal events? The seasonal events are not part of this annual pass that we're talking about. As is shown in this graphic that I'm looking at on the Bungie update, seasonal rewards, special and seasonal events, this includes things like Crimson Days, as well as the Dawning, as well as Festival of the Lost, are part of seasons. Quality of life updates, such as, changes to the weapon system and changes to mods, things like that, exotic updates, are part of seasons. New Crucible maps and modes are part of seasons. All of that content is free. They are not in the annual pass. You're not paying for those things. So, can't really count those in terms of how Destiny 1 worked either. And not to mention, a lot of those updates those seasonal events weren't all that great anyway. With that said, one content each left the game in a very, very barren and dead state. I remember a lot of Destiny YouTubers completely running out of content. I remember a lot of complaints. However, the one thing that was holding Destiny together during those periods was its PvP. Now granted, over time the PvP deteriorated a little bit and people got less and less patient, but the Crucible was at least there to hold the game together between these excruciatingly long waiting periods. Destiny 2 has nothing of the sort because the PvP is absolutely atrocious. So, we have this thing, the annual pass. If something like this would have been implemented in Destiny 1, yes, I'm sure a lot of people would have, had their gripes about it, but if I knew for a fact that we were going to get 3 content updates, which are probably going to be on the same level as the April update, maybe larger, maybe smaller. I'm just going to set my expectations at the same as the April update. If I knew we were going to get 3 of those throughout the year, I would absolutely pay $30 to make sure that that happened back during Destiny 1. Absolutely. More content updates would have made me so happy back then. Even no matter how small, and from the sounds of it, again, these are probably going to be about the same size as what the April update and Age of Triumphs were. With that said, here are my problems with this. First of all, cannot give Bungie the benefit of the doubt. Do not pre-order the annual pass. Second problem, Activision sticking their grubby hands in there. This is a season pass. They're asking you to pre-order it. Don't pre-order it. On top of that, they're doing the same crap that they are now pulling with all of their franchises, where you either buy the season pass or you don't buy the DLC at all. You cannot buy individual DLCs. You can only buy the annual pass. Really stupid. Really stupid. It's $30 or nothing. You can't spend $10 per drop because there are 3 drops throughout the year. Cannot spend $10 per drop. Again, don't pre-order this. Wait until the first one, Black Armory, comes out in winter of 2018. If that's actually any good and you feel like you need it or you want it, then you can maybe go buy it. But that is really sleazy, Activision. But they're going to keep pulling it because more of the attention is focused on Electronic Arts than Activision right now, even though they're equally horrible. Regardless, that is my problem with the annual pass. I like the idea in theory because I would have loved to have had something like that in Destiny 1. But in Destiny 2, I don't know if I can't really recommend it right now. And again, it's still pre-ordering DLC, which is stupid in and of itself. Now, again, you might be asking, what does this annual pass come with? Well, it's actual content, like I said. More activities, more weapons, more exotics, new and old, more endgame challenges, more raid layers, things like that. Actual content, but on a smaller scale than what Forsaken is actually going to be. So, With all of that said, let's also talk about one other sore spot I have in regards to Forsaken, and that is the fact that you have to own Destiny 2 and Curse of Osiris and Warmind to be able to play Forsaken. Now, so far it hasn't been announced yet, but I would imagine that much like the Taken King got, Destiny 2 is going to get a $60 edition that includes all previous content and Forsaken. Taken King had the same thing. It came with Destiny Vanilla, Dark Below, House of Wolves, and Taken King. It was $60. I would imagine, and I think Activision would be really stupid not to do it, but it is Activision and they are manipulative, to release a $60 version that comes with all of this. It'll be released digitally and on disc. This is all based on, again, prior experience, but Activision is Activision. They are sleazy, and there is a possibility they might try to strong-arm new players into getting Vanilla Destiny 2, Curse of Osiris, and Warmind separately, and then purchasing Forsaken. I really hope they don't do that, but if they do that, I would not recommend buying it. I would not recommend buying it in the slightest. First of all, Curse of Osiris might as well be treated like a malware because it's the worst piece of DLC I've ever played in my entire life. And Warmind is okay. But second of all, you don't really need those. You shouldn't need those. I can understand why. The reason you probably need those is because they probably want to allow you to go back to the locations that are stored in the data on those DLCs, such as the Hellas Basin / Mars and Warmind, and Mercury in Curse of Osiris. The data for those areas and locations is probably stored in the DLC, and you can't actually access that unless you have it downloaded. But for crying out loud, Activision, please don't be that manipulative. This game does not need it at this point. It's already having enough issues. It's already expensive enough to invest yourself in this game. However, now to flip to the other side of things, where I actually start to defend stuff, I still don't really see the part where people are complaining about the cost of everything in terms of Destiny. I think the Digital Deluxe Edition is excessive. But in terms of the cost of everything, $30 for the annual pass being too much, $40 for the expansion being too much, I mean, that's just the type of game Destiny is. If you don't care about it, don't buy it. I mean, it's not that difficult, really. I mean, players like me sink this much money into the game not because we're shills for the company, but because we want to play more of the game we like, and because it literally takes hundreds to even thousands of hours out of our lives, which, in my opinion, is absolutely worth the price of admission. I know that people are mad about it, but Destiny sure as heck ain't the only game to do it. A lot of games do it. And yes, I know right now they could definitely earn some customer goodwill by possibly offering more things for free, but they're starting to make steps in the right direction. I think adding things like, Crucible maps and Crucible modes and stuff like that for free instead of locking those behind content. That's a step. Destiny 1 did not do that. Destiny 1 actually locked players out who didn't have the correct expansions, the according expansions, which was kind of sleazy. And they're not doing that with Destiny 2, which is okay. But gosh dang. I really just don't buy the whole, man, this is all so freaking expensive. If it's all so freaking expensive, then don't play Destiny. I mean, this is the kind of game it is. It's the exact same logic as something like World of Warcraft. Obviously, Destiny is World of Warcraft light, but again, for those of us who sink literally thousands of hours into the Destiny franchise, which is a lot of people, a crap ton of people like you would not believe, it's more than worth the price of admission, and it's honestly pretty standard. If you think that's bad, welcome to MMOs, everybody. But again, fuck Activision. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video on Forsaken. Those are my thoughts on everything. It's definitely lukewarm. There are some negative and positive things. Again, please don't pre-order anything. Do not pre-order. For the love, I hope we've all learned our lesson by now. Don't freaking pre-order. And not even this stuff. Don't pre-order ever again from Bungie or Activision. Like, that's probably the least you can do, especially because I promise you, if you don't pre-order, I can promise you, if you go to GameStop the day it releases, or you go to your Walmart, or you go to wherever you're going to pick up your game, or you go into the PlayStation or Xbox store, it's going to be there. You don't need to reserve it. It'll be there, I promise. Right there for you to pick up immediately. it's not gonna just vanish on you. There's not a limited number of copies. Don't pre-order. Don't pre-order. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so very much for watching. All I have left to say is that tomorrow, a new Let's Play begins. Or, I guess, a continuation of a Let's Play. And that is going to be the story mode of Destiny 2. What we've had so far. Destiny 2, Curse of Osiris, and Warmind. I'm going to be playing through the story mode much like I did with Destiny 1 last year. And we're going to be continuing our Destiny adventure. Because, and I'm going to add this on real quick, in the Vidoc, they announced that Destiny is going to start stepping away from story-focused content. Which I personally think is a good thing, because I always feel like that's been Destiny's weakest aspect pretty much since ever. They should focus on lore and less on story, because I think the story has always been the weakest aspect of Destiny. So they're going to be stepping away from that, which means that everything we have thus far might be most of what's it for the rest of this game. So we're going to be hopping into the story mode for Destiny 2, and we're going to be trying to complete it before Forsaken launches on September 4th. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.